Introduction: the foundation of agency responsibility. As we move into Chapter 3, we now shift from establishing agency relationships to understanding what those relationships actually require of the real estate professional. At the core of every agency relationship are fiduciary duties, legal obligations that require the agent to act in the best interest of their client. In commercial real estate, these duties carry even greater weight due to the complexity of transactions, the financial stakes involved, and the level of reliance clients place on their agent's expertise. These duties are not optional guidelines, they're enforceable legal standards under Arizona law. Specifically outlined in ACR 4-28-1101. Failure to uphold these duties can result in disciplinary action under ARS Section 32 to 2153, civil liability, and damage to professional reputation. The core fiduciary duties explained. Fiduciary duties are commonly broken down into 6 key obligations: loyalty, obedience, disclosure, confidentiality, accounting, and reasonable care. Loyalty requires the agent to place the client's interests above all others, including their own. Obedience means following the lawful instructions of the client. Disclosure requires the agent to inform the client of all material facts that could affect their decisions. Confidentiality protects the client's private information even after the transaction is complete. Accounting ensures that all funds and documents are properly handled and recorded. Finally, reasonable care requires the agent to act confidently and within the standards of the profession. Together, these duties form the foundation of agency and define what it means to represent a client properly. Applying fiduciary duties in commercial transactions and commercial real estate, fiduciary duties are often tested in more complex ways than in residential transactions. For example, a broker representing an investor must analyze financial data, lease structures, and market conditions to provide informed guidance. If the broker fails to disclose a known issue, such as a tenant with a history of late payments or a zoning restriction that limits property use, they may be in violation of their duty of disclosure. Similarly, if an agent shares confidential financial information about their client with another party, they have breached their duty of confidentiality. These situations highlight the importance of understanding not just what the duties are, but how they apply in real-world scenarios. Duty of disclosure. The most litigated obligation among all fiduciary duties, disclosure is one of the most frequently litigated. Agents are required to disclose all known material facts that are not readily observable and that could affect the client's decision-making process. This duty is reinforced by Arizona case law, including Hill v. Jones, 1986, which established that failure to disclose material defects can result in liability. In commercial real estate, material facts may include environmental concerns, structural issues, lease defaults, or legal restrictions on property use. Agents must also be careful not to misrepresent information, even unintentionally, as this can lead to claims of negligent misrepresentation under the restatement. Second, of Torts Section 552. Confidentiality. Protecting the client's position confidentiality is a critical duty that extends beyond the closing of a transaction. Agents must protect sensitive information, such as a client's financial position, investment strategy, or willingness to negotiate. In commercial real estate, where negotiations often involve large sums of money and complex deal structures, maintaining confidentiality can directly impact the outcome of a transaction. For example, if a landlord's agent reveals that the owner is under financial pressure to lease quickly, it could weaken the client's negotiating position. Under ACR 4-28-1101, this type of disclosure would be a violation of the agent's fiduciary duty. Reasonable care and competence. In commercial practice, the duty of reasonable care requires agents to perform their duties with the level of skill and competence expected of a professional in the field. In commercial real estate, this often means going beyond basic transaction coordination. Agents may be expected to understand financial metrics, lease analysis, zoning regulations, and market trends. However, it is equally important to recognize the limits of one's expertise. When a situation requires specialized knowledge, such as legal or tax advice, The agent must recommend that the client seek assistance from a qualified professional. This aligns with ADRE policy guidance and helps protect both the client and the agent from potential liability. Accounting, managing funds, and documentation accounting is another essential fiduciary duty that requires agents to properly handle all funds and maintain accurate records. This includes earnest money deposits, rent payments, and any other funds related to the transaction. In commercial real estate, where transactions may involve large sums and multiple parties, maintaining accurate records is critical. Under ARUS Section 32 to 2151.01, brokers are required to retain transaction records for a specified period, ensuring that documentation is available for review if needed. Proper accounting practices not only ensure compliance, but also build trust with clients. Broker supervision and enforcement of fiduciary duties are not just the responsibility of individual agents, they are enforced at the brokerage level. Under AC R 4-28-1103, designated brokers are required to supervise agents and ensure compliance with all legal and ethical obligations. This includes providing training, reviewing transaction files, and implementing policies that reinforce fiduciary responsibilities. In commercial real estate, where transactions can be complex and high risk, strong broker supervision is essential to maintaining compliance and protecting the interests of clients. Bringing it all together, the standard of professionalism fiduciary duties define what it means to be a professional in real estate. They are the standard by which agents are judged, both legally and ethically. In commercial real estate, where clients rely heavily on the expertise and integrity of their agent, these duties become even more critical. By understanding and consistently applying fiduciary duties, agents can build trust, reduce risk, and create successful outcomes for their clients. As we move into the next section, we will explore how these duties are balanced with the requirement to deal fairly with all parties in a transaction. Online discussion: why are fiduciary duties especially important in commercial real estate? Answer: because transactions are more complex, involve higher financial stakes, and require a greater level of expertise and trust. What is the difference between disclosure and confidentiality? Answer: disclosure involves sharing material facts with the client, while confidentiality involves protecting the client's private information from others. When should an agent recommend outside professional assistance? Answer: when a situation requires expertise beyond the agent's knowledge, such as legal, tax, or environmental issues.